Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a project. I'm going to show you a little bit about a project that I made, how that project came to life, what brought it to life, and also I'm going to share something with you that was shared with me from a legend, a man that I wanted to meet for so long, even before I was a knife maker, and what he said to me and how that changed the way I make knives. Stay tuned. He's a horrible person. He's really mean. Don't talk to him. If he finds out you are a knife maker, you're out. He won't even talk to you. This project started from a need, a necessity, okay? When I make a knife, if you've been following me for long, you know this. If you haven't yet, you can check it out on Instagram, Facebook group, Vic Knives. But when I make a knife, I make it a one of a kind.
Yeah, boy.
Doesn't matter if it's a frame lock. I always try to make something different between all of them. Okay, either it's the finish of the blade, the finish on the pivot, clip, satin, the sandblast that I use, milling holes, milling patterns, something. I always try to do something different on each and every one of them. But that takes time, okay? When I put a knife on the mill, on the rotary table, when I put a knife on the vise, it takes time to set it up, to get all the numbers on the DRO, to make every little thing from point A to point B. It takes time. So, in this need that came up, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do 10 knives the same way, the same hole patterns, same finishes, and that way I put everything on the rotary table, everything on the vise, and I go to the same numbers. I don't have to think about what's next, what I'm changing. I don't have to think of any of those things. That's how the titanium thing came along. And this was not last year, the year before that, for Christmas. I decided to open it up to some people. I didn't even open it up. I brought the idea to the group, and a lot of people jumped in and say, Vic, I want to be part of it. Get me there. I picked the first 10 people that did this. And it became something so cool, not only for me, not only because, it's easier to do the same thing 10 times, repetition, but also it was so cool for the collectors themselves. We got a group going just between the 11 of us, and we became friends. We started talking about knives, and it was such a cool thing. It was clean, it was knife related. And still to today, we will still go back and talk to each other every once in a while. But that brought to, why don't I do it again? And in December last year, 2023, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it all over again. But this time, I would like to be a part of it. And I went and I got what started as the 10 became 12 people part of it, including myself. And this time, I decided, you know what, I want to make a nice materials on it. Somebody reached out to me without even knowing that I wanted to do this. And he said, hey Vic, I would like to give this to you at Westinghouse Butterscotch. And at the end, I'm like, no, let me give you something for it. He gave me an awesome deal. And then I'm like, what's the best Damascus out there right now? What is something very hot right now? And I'm in love with Norris Damascus. But if you guys know, Norris Damascus is not easy to get, right? He's a one-man show like me. He makes everything in-house from himself. He goes and he makes sure that the core is dead center, is the same with both sides. He's a beast, okay? But because he's a beast, it's hard to get his materials. But I have a friend of mine that's a friend of his, and he was able to talk to him so I can get enough billets to make the 12 knives out of that. And so the Butterscotch 12 came to life. And that's what I'm going to show you here, some of the process of how that knife came to life. In the beginning, I put the pivot on the handle, and I need to make it flat. And this is what I'm doing right here, right now, on the machine. These machines were also made in-house, by the way. And I need to make sure that everything is flat with the handle. So I need to make that on the machine and then finish it up by hand on my stone. Okay, this is a stone plate that is nice and flat. Then after that, I'm able to go to the machines again and 2D contour. What 2D contour means is I'm going to go and make all the sides. And I have my knife here, my personal knife, and I want to go around the edge here and make sure everything is perfect with the knife, including the blade here on the top. I don't like it when the blade is out or is not flush with it, and I want to make sure that everything is nice and easy. And you're gonna see I go from different grids on the belts. Okay, so I go and I make sure everything is done like that. Then after that, I'm gonna go into a very special, a very important step. I measure where I'm gonna put the detent ball. I don't want that detent ball to, when you disengage the lock, for you to feel a step and then the detent ball releases and then the knife closes. I want you to be able to disengage the lock, flip the knife to come, and you don't feel those two steps. And because of that, I need to make sure that I put the detent hole at a 0.62 of an inch away from the lock face. I hope you don't hear the guys that here cutting the grass. After I do that, then I can go ahead and drill the hole. After I drill the hole, I make sure it's in the right height so it doesn't fall off the blade, so it doesn't show off. That's another thing I don't like to do, is showing the track of the detent on the blade when you open and close, or even when it's open all the way you see it track. I don't want to do that, especially on these knives because they have Damascus blades. Okay, I have to polish that part. I cover it when I'm etching the blade, so that part is gonna stay satin. And I do not want you to see that when the knife is open. Okay, so I make sure that part is right. Then after this, I can go ahead and I can put all the handles together. And what you are about to see here is a very high-end, very complicated jig. Okay, one of my most proud jigs that you will see coming out of my shop. Nah, I'm kidding. It's just a G10 piece that I made the hole for the pivot, where I'm gonna put this little tiny pivot in that it won't come out of the sides. The same with the back. I have a small pivot, 1/8 pivot. I can put it on the handle, put it all together, and I can take it to the mill, and I can mill in that little groove, that little opening, that little chamfer on the inside of the handle where you disengage the lock. Okay? And after that, I'll take it to the mill, and at the mill, I do the inside of that. I go little by little, cutting everything, making sure it's perfect on both sides. That's very important for me. I know some people do only one side. That's cool. I know some people do just a little tiny thing. That's cool. I know some people don't even do anything. That's cool if that's what they like. For me, I like to have it both on the same side. And I might get into that in another video, how I like everything symmetrical. But I go ahead and I do that. I mill it down to where I want it. And this is how it looks. I think it looks great. I go ahead and I finish it by hand. And I make sure everything on the knife feels great. And then this is where we go to the next step. This next step is something that I learned from a legend. Okay? Where my first blade show that I went to, I had a knife that I made. I had it in my pocket, and I was very excited when I saw two legends talking with each other. They were actually sharing the table. I was like, whoa, that's Stan Wilson, and that's Todd Fisher Sr., okay? And I knew Stan Wilson was a very nice guy. I heard about him. I actually met him earlier that day. Very cool, down-to-earth guy, but I really wanted to meet Todd Fisher Sr. And I remember asking about him before. And the things that I heard was, he's really mean, don't talk to him. If he finds out you are a knife maker, you're out. He won't even talk to you, okay? So I was very nervous. I was like, should I even talk to this guy? And then I decided I'm gonna go and I'm gonna act like I'm just looking at the knives. For all he knows, I'm a collector myself. I'm not gonna say who I am. I'm not gonna say what I do, what I want to do. Because at that moment, I didn't even consider myself a knife maker yet. I went up to the table. I said, hey, guys, how are you? Oh, may I see some of these knives? May I pick one up? That's all. By the way, that's a good thing to do when you go to show. Don't just think that it's okay to pick up and start flipping. Respect the knives, okay? Those knives don't belong to you yet. Respect the knives. So I went, I talked to him, Stan Wilson first. I'm like, let me let me go little by little. I talked to him, really, really great guy. And then I said, oh, he said, yeah, please go ahead and pick him up. I picked him up, very gentle, opened it. I was looking at it very well. I wasn't there flipping and closing and flipping and closing. Again, respect the knives, they're not yours. So I'm there, very nice. Oh, thank you so much, it's beautiful. And then I saw Todd Fisher, he was right next to him. And I said, may I see one of your knives? And he looked at me, said, yeah, sure, here you go. And I opened it again softly, and I asked him a couple of questions, and immediately he said, are you making knives? Are you a knife maker? I said, no, I'm not yet, honestly. I'm not a knife maker yet, but I would love to learn. And he said, you have anything on you that you've made? I said, as a matter of fact, I do, and I picked out, I remember this knife. This knife is in pieces in the garage somewhere, okay? It was a really bad knife. But I took it out, I showed it to him. It was a liner lock. And he looked at it and he was like, how long have you been making knives? He started asking me questions. And I answered him and he said, wow, I'm surprised that within that time you're already making this quality. Now, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This guy that I was thinking was going to be a horrible experience became something so cool. That guy so down to earth. And he went ahead and he looked at me. He said, okay, I see you're milling down. How much are you milling down? Because my knives are tight. And he said, well, I like that. So, but why don't you, instead of milling the scales, why don't you start milling down the liners? And this way, if you do it at an angle, people won't see that you did it. Instead of seeing that step on the scale, because I was milling down the scale, you can see it. And you see these in many knives out there. You can see it. And I went like, whoa, so mill it down at an angle so that people don't see it. And that's where that jig came from, okay? That jig is at an angle, and you're gonna see here, when I put the handle on it, you're gonna see that it starts milling down on the top first, and then on the bottom as I go down, as I go 15,000 down, then I touches the last part of the lock bar. And this way, you don't see that I mill it down. You won't see that. You won't even think about it. You don't even think that, you know what, those knives are tight, so the detent bolt doesn't fit in it. And because of that, I had to mill down something. I had to take something off. I with the diamond file, I filed down the ball. And then on top of that, I milled this down. And even like this, you only have just enough and a little bit extra for that lock bar to be able to release and don't stay tight with the handle. That was such a great thing that he taught me. He actually told me to put something underneath that was 15,000, and that's the way it started. And then this jig came along where the jig itself is already at the angle that I need to be able to do this. But at the end of it all, this is how it looks. It looks cool. You see the milling. You take it back to the marble stone, and there you flatten it out good. You erase all the lines. It looks like never happened. Nothing ever happened. That's the way it was. And that's how it looks. And then this is how it looks all good together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more things like this, if you like to be part of the background and everything that happens that you don't normally see on Instagram, you don't normally see it on Facebook, join, subscribe, like, comment. I'm watching the comments. I'm coming with the sharpening video as well, as it was one of the comments. Let me know what you like to see from me. Let me know how else we can grow this YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy it. I'm really enjoying making these videos. And until next time, see you.